Call to order, roll call.
Craig,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Walt,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chris, Dana,
Yes.
Dylan.
Set agenda.
I'll make a motion consent agenda.
I'll second.
Been properly moved by Joe, seconded by Dana to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Personnel.
Please note, in addition to personnel, based on an interview that was conducted and a position that was accepted earlier today, recommending the addition of Angie Cash for our assistant cook position at the elementary. That is replacing Donna, who recently took on that position, but had another opportunity in a field that she was already partially employed in that was offered to her, and so put in her 2 weeks' notice. So we're looking to fill that with a great candidate. We had 3 individuals who interviewed. We had a full team of people from administration to the kitchen participate, and recommend her for the position.
I'll make a motion to approve personnel.
I'll second.
Been properly moved by Joe, seconded by Jody to approve personnel as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 5, approve high school band chorus and theater trip to Nashville in June 26th.
All right, I'd like to turn the floor over to Tracy Andreessen, who contacted me on behalf of Performing Arts Boosters to share an opportunity that they've been exploring and just provide details and information to you to make an informed decision on approval of the trip.
Okay, we have a proposal for a trip from June 1st to June 5th of 2026. We are hoping to get at least 40 people going on this trip, because obviously the price goes down as you get more people. Oh, you have to know, okay.
Yep. Updated one.
Yeah, so they sent me an updated one from 20 all the way up to 50 people going per person for the trip. We have a lot of different things that we get to go do, I guess, but the band will be performing a pre-show performance outside the Opry, outside the Grand Ole Opry. All of them, band, choir, and theater, will do some university clinics. And then the choir will have a performance also at the Country Music Hall of Fame. It's all very, it's still in planning, but this is the proposal that they sent us. They've been raising, we just did a TV raffle fundraiser and raised $2,700. And that was with only about 15 to 20 of our kids participating out of the probably, I don't even know how many there are, 30 to 40, maybe more altogether right now. So they are between some raffles and other fundraisers we're coming up with. We also did the concession stand for the basketball, second half of basketball, and that's pretty profitable also. So that'll all go towards, like, if I work, that goes towards my kid, and so on and so forth. So I don't have the numbers for that right now, but we did pretty good. So I'm not exactly sure what all else I need to
Yeah, I
say
shared
about
the
the
itinerary
trip.
and everything you
But
provided
yeah.
with them in advance. Are there any questions, or is there anything that you saw that would raise a concern? Just to reiterate, it's not for this summer.
No, next summer.
Yeah,
So,
so the full year, this is work that Performing Arts would
Right.
fundraise for. It
Right.
would benefit students in band, choir, and the Performing
Theater,
Arts.
yep.
So a group trip.
Just a thought. They have a really cool 2-hour mural tour down there. You get in a bus and they take you around all over Nashville and show all the different murals. And it's really cool to do. You learn a lot about the city while you're riding around the bus looking at all the different murals. Just a
Okay.
fun thing to do.
Yeah, so we're still gonna do a little tweaking on
Just
the
thought.
itinerary, but that's okay.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really fun.
Looking forward to it, so.
This would be 9/12, Ninth through 12? Or are we gonna incorporate the junior high to maybe get
I
them a little
think,
interested?
I think so we can get the numbers, we're probably gonna incorporate junior high, so we might start focusing now on the, what would that be, like the current sixth graders up through current 11th graders. So that kind of opens up some more doors for more kids, so that's our thought anyway. I'm new to this, so I'm trying to plan this and, do it right and include everybody. And hopefully we can do this every 2 to 4 years. Like, I guess it'll depend on how it goes the first time, if we're gonna do it every 2 years or every 4 years, but maybe get some more kids interested too this way, so, yeah.
So for an out-of-state trip, oh, go ahead.
If you have 40 kids, how many chaperones you gonna take?
Well, the 40 includes chaperones too, so that, I'm not 100% sure how many chaperones you have to have per kids, honestly.
We always had, when we went in the past, we always had plenty of parents that wanted to
Yeah, I
go
mean,
and pick, yeah.
we're assuming plenty of parents, there's going to be parents. There's a lot of us already interested in going, so, that 40 would include adults and kids, so. But yeah, that is something to look into. I probably told me, this has been going on for a few months, working on this, so.
So in order to proceed, she just needs an action and a second. Motion for out-of-state travel for performing arts in the summer of June 2026.
I'll make a motion to approve the high school band choir thespian trip to Nashville and allow them to continue their fundraising, raising and planning for a trip in 2026.
I'll second.
Been properly moved by Jody, second by Walt, to approve the high school band chorus and teacher trip to Nashville on June 26th. Discussion. Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All motion carries. 6, possible approval of Ag FFA field trip.
Mr. Eskildson, you're an old pro at this.
Yeah, unfortunately. So about a year and a half ago, I was talking to Patty Schmidt about National FFA Convention, and for those of you that's been on the board for a while, you know that you allowed us to go to Indianapolis. And I was just sharing with her my frustrations with the price of National Convention doesn't change. We're a small enough chapter where we take the same kids year after year. And she had made the comment about maybe taking kids elsewhere, and so I kind of ran with that idea. We were originally going to go to the Denver Stock Show. That was kind of on my radar, and then I realized that it's cold in Denver this time of year. And so we kind of set our sails. I talked to the kids, and they wanted to go to Texas. And if you're familiar with any of the stock shows in Texas, their stock shows down there are kind of the equivalent of our state fair up here. And so I don't have an itinerary yet. We just hosted contests, so I'm a little overwhelmed from that. But the idea is that it is still an educational trip. We have a few things in the works, like touring OSU or A&M down in Texas. Enough farms down there along the way that we could tour, see some different things of agriculture. I know a former Iowa ag teacher lives in Austin, which is where we want to go, to Austin. And there's some schools down there that he has kind of proposed, he puts us in touch with. If you know anything about the schools in Texas, they're quite different than what we have here in Iowa. Down there, an ag program has, 8 school barns and 8 ag teachers. And so that was something that's also kind of on our radar. And we're not quite sure the route down yet. Whatever route we go down will come up a different way, so we might go down through like Arkansas, hit a corner of maybe Louisiana, and then come up through Kansas, Oklahoma, and then through Missouri. I think there's enough things along the way that will keep the kids interested and see a wide variety of things to expose them to other things. And this probably going to be about 14-ish kids, about the same number I would take to National Convention. They are required to pay probably about $250. The FFA chapter will cover a chunk, and then my FFA alumni will most likely cover a chunk of that as well. The dates are on the last full week in March. And so it'd be pretty similar to National FFA Convention. Myself and the chaperone probably take about 14 kids, stay in hotels along the way, and just see some different things that we don't get to see every day here in Iowa. So it's not intended to be an every year thing, probably an every other year thing, just to get some different kids exposed to national convention on the, maybe like the odd years and a trip like this, and maybe it won't work well, I don't really know. We're kind of going off of how our Washington DC trip went, and a lot of positive feedback about that. So we're just kind of giving it a whirl. So request to use the 2 vehicles and go someplace more.
Steve, how would that work out if you have someone getting an award in the off year, or in the year that you?
So yeah, no, that's a good question. That was something that kids and I talked about. We were pretty close to winning the contest this year, and I had told them that if they had one, I probably would have just taken that team and gone out to Indianapolis. I don't really know. I really haven't thought about that, honestly. I don't know what we would do. If it was like an American degree, we'd probably go out on Friday night. If it was a team competing, might just take the team. I don't really know what we would do, honestly.
Just asking to keep it on your radar.
Yep, absolutely. Something I really never gave a thought to, but hopefully that's a bridge I have to cross someday, but.
Yep.
So I think it's great just for diversity of experiences with our students and those opportunities that they get through our Ag and FFA program. I would recommend approval.
I'll make a motion to approve FFA field trip.
I'll second.
Probably moved by Walt, second by Dana to approve Ag FFA field trip as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Fiscal year budget discussion, 26.
I'll turn that over to Mr. Krieger to talk through. He's just gonna share some information related to setting our budget, establishing our tax rate, so that we can begin the process of getting information out to the public and then proceeding with public hearings in March and April.
So it's second year with the new budget laws. If you recall, last year was the first year where we had 2 public hearings. So the process starts a little bit earlier in the year as far as what is published in the newspaper, on our website, for people to see, and then every taxpayer in the community will get a postcard in the mail. That's part of the new law that took place last year. So the first step in that is just setting our preliminary tax rate. Whatever we set that at, we can lower it between now and April 30th when it's due to the county auditor and the Department of Management. You just can't increase it. So just a few things tonight to establish the initial tax rate, and then we'll have a more in-depth work session in March, and then a final one in April, and then get the documents to the Department of Management and the county auditor by the end of April. So luckily for us, there's not a whole lot to talk about with tax rate. There's not a whole lot the board can change. Most years, there's 4 or 5 things. We're sufficient in cash in our general fund. Don't have even the availability to ask for that, even if we wanted to. So I'll scroll through a couple things that the board has input on, and then ask some questions. And if I'm going through here and you guys have some questions, feel free to ask. But this is just an input tab for Department of Management's aid and levy worksheet. 2% allowable growth is just an assumption. There's been a couple different numbers floated out there, but 2% is what the governor recommended, and one division of government, I think the other one recommended maybe 2.5 or 275, something like that. But I use 2. If it goes higher, it's just will lower our budget guarantee amount and would reduce our tax rate a little bit. Line 5.17, that's previously board voted on. Dropout prevention amount for next school year, $208,000. That's set in stone. Our instructional support program, that's 10% of our general fund program that it generates funding for. We fund that with a mix of property taxes and income surtax. Traditionally, we've done 4%. That is something that's under board control. You can lessen the income surtax, that would make property taxes go up. You can raise the income surtax, that would make property taxes go down. It's an inverse relationship with that. As I said, we can't levy any cash in our general fund. We do have a $1.34 PEPO levy on file with the Department of Management. that's in there. We have, tentatively, I put in $89,249 of management fund money. That, compiled with the interest that we receive in our management fund is sufficient enough to pay for our property casualty insurance, throughout the next school year, plus, we have a sufficient management fund balance, so really no reason unless the board would wanna levy some more to up the balance there. And then, $98,082 of our board voted, PEPAL levy for 33 cents, and that amount's capped at 98,000, that's state formula. So, the last component that determines our tax rate is our debt service levy. That's one thing that, there's an agenda item later to approve a resolution, to consider approval of a resolution for a debt surplus levy. If you remember, we did one of these last year. What that does is our property valuations grew again, so we have the availability to collect more funds on $2.70 in the year prior. So as we're paying off our debt, that might only cost us, say, $2.39, so we have the gap of that between there and $2.70 to generate more funds. So what a debt surplus levy does is allows us to still tax at $2.70. We take that revenue in, it goes into an escrow account, and then when our bonds become callable, we end up paying them off earlier, and that saves taxpayers interest. So, we'll talk a little bit more in detail about that when we actually get to the, resolution to approve it, but, it's my recommendation to approve it when it's within our capacity and it doesn't affect, going outside of the tax rate limitations that, we've told the public we'd stay within, because it ends up just paying off debt sooner and saving interest payments. So with that, and I'll go to the notice that's gonna go in the paper and then to everyone's mailboxes, and then we can go back and talk about those couple areas that you guys have input on and see if there's anything you would like to have changed or set with those, even though there's not much to change. You guys see that okay if I leave it full, or is it small?
A little bigger.
The old folks in the back can't.
Yeah.
What's
We should
that?
have changed these.
The old folks in the back can't see.
So, remember, I'll kind of start with a small, and then I'll zoom in on a couple things just of importance. So, a postcard goes out, or anyone that has a mailing address gets a postcard. So we have to, by March 5th, we have to hit submit on the Department Management's website. What that does is generates a notification to the county auditor that we finalized our first initial, we had our tax hearing, or we have the date set for it. We have the information to them. This information then goes to every resident, with a post box, and then it tells them information. And what the information tells them is, the far left is what our current year, property tax dollar levy is. And then, it says, the middle column is what, our taxes levied would be, in tax rate. When I scroll down and zoom in on it, what they would be in 2026 if we asked for the same exact dollar allocation of taxes between all of our funds. And then the farthest right column would be all the stuff that we have plugged in temporarily on what that generates for a total tax dollar levy and tax rate. So all of our funds put together. When you get down to the bottom, you can see under this grand total, like I said, the current budget year that we're in, $3,996,277. If we didn't change a thing, asked for the same amount of money, you can see our tax rate would decrease, because as I stated, our property valuations went up, so you're asking for a bigger pot. They would go from $14.10 down to $13.77. With what I have tentatively plugged in, and we can look at that and take your input, we would be asking for $3,995,141, and that's a tax rate of 13.77. And again, when we go back to that, the only thing right now that would be under your guys' control that would be able to be changed is, one, if you didn't want to do the debt surplus levy, that would reduce it by 30 cents or so. And then management fund levy, and then if you wanted to mess with what we asked for with income surtax as part of our instructional support levy, the rest of it's all set in stone.
What percentage does that income surtax generate?
What percentage?
Like, how does it offset the,
So
property
the
tax?
income surtax, it's set by the state, so once you have it, you can't exceed 10% of your regular,
Right,
general fund
but
budget
each
program.
percentage that we increase the income surtax, how much would it offset, do you know how much it would offset?
Oh,
the-
if you like go up 1%, I can tell you that. I don't know that right off, like, without doing it, but, so right now, what I put in, 7, decrease it or increase it, did you say? You just wanna know?
Just
Don't matter.
what the difference increases, fine, see how much it goes down.
$0.11. Which is something that's calculated already,
So go to 1366,
yeah. So for every percent, 11 cents a tax rate.
And currently at what percent?
4.
4%, and we can go up to.
10,
Well, you can go up to actually 20% income surtax charge, it's just the calculation is, the funding is 10% of your total to get the capped amount. But you can have an income surtax percent up to 20%, as long as it doesn't create too much funding for you. I think if we actually maxed ours all the way out, I would have to look for sure, but if I remember right, it's around 9% would be the most income surtax we could ask for if we wanted to fund it totally with income surtax.
so that could, that would, what would that take it down? So the 13, it only went down by 11 cents, so if
So
we
you would
raised.
go on 4 more percent, and it would take it down about 44 more cents then. So you'd be down to like 13.2.
So if they made that decision to modify like that amount, for example, tonight, it would lower our tax rate, and then in the upcoming meetings, like, so whatever is settled on tonight, he sends to the auditor, and then we would not have the authority to come back and raise the tax rate. But if we let it ride, or wanna have more discussions and make that decision, they can decide to increase that amount still. in
So you only
March.
have to report the tax rate publicly, you don't have to report the income surtax rate. So we can change that and,
I mean, it does get reported.
Right,
It's
but not the
listed,
same way.
You're under the restraints of it, it's just the law says you can't lower property tax, your published property tax rate. And that's what
You don't
some-
have the deadline of March 5th to report the income surtax.
No, they ain't deadline to report the income surtax amount, that's why you have some districts around, I mean, there's been districts around that have 17 and 18% income surtax, and then tout what their property tax levy is, and if you don't look apples to apples, you don't truly know what the full tax asking is. Like, our dollar amount's not gonna change, it's just, the distribution of where the funding's coming from, but no, the law is about property taxes.
I know we've had conversations in recent years about income surtax, but I know we've had some new board members. Does anybody want to talk a little bit more about that, or should we just table that conversation for March, or where do you want to go with that discussion?
That'd be good research for them to do before March on their own. And if they have questions, they can get back with the other board member, or Adam would be a good resource for that.
Yeah, say that again.
You would be a good resource to
Yeah.
explain to them income
Yeah.
surtax.
Any other input on anything with the management fund, or good with that? I mean, that, like I said, $89,249, that plus the interest that we're taking on annually is more than enough money to currently pay for next year's management fund anticipated expenses. I don't really see a reason to up it at all. We have a sufficient balance there.
Anything else? Item 8, you beat that up yet, Adam?
Yep.
Still wanna
March,
ask.
April board meeting, public budget hearing.
Yep, so to comply with the budgetary requirements, I recommend a motion tonight to changed the date of our March and April board meetings. There is a narrow window in which we have to have our public hearings. And so just like we did last year, we would hold our public hearings for the budget prior to our regular board meeting in March and April. My recommendation to you tonight would be to set those meetings for March on the night of March 26th, also Wednesday, and then the April meeting to April 23rd at the same time, or same regular time of 6 p.m. And so we would hold our public hearings at 6 p.m. and then our regular meetings immediately following the public hearing. So if the board was in support of that, we just need an action or a motion and action to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve having our public meetings at 6 p.m. prior to our regular board meetings in March and April.
Second. Properly moved by Jody, second by Joe to approve the March and April board meetings for the public budget hearings prior to our March 26th meeting and April 23rd meeting at 6 p.m. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 8, approve board representative for collective bargaining.
All right, so with some of the changes to the teacher salary minimums and state funding last year, we made an effort coming into this year to be more proactive and start conversations in the fall. We've been meeting with Teacher Association representatives since September. We've held almost monthly meetings where we've had talks and conversations, and it's been great just building our understanding around the new law and the new funding and helping us all understand short-term and long-term implications. We're in a good place now where we've really developed that understanding between the district and our teacher representatives, and before long we'd like to bring in school board reps. In the past, we've had 2 board reps who have just come into the process to learn alongside us and understand the finances and recommendations that would be coming as a result of our collective bargaining agreement. So looking for the board to appoint 2 representatives tonight. Typically, we want reps that don't have any direct family connections, that are employees of the district, just to avoid any conflict of interest or anything there. So I just wanted to have some conversation and see if 2 of you would be willing to be representatives for our collective bargaining process.
I can do it at that.
I do it well. You can't. Oh.
Don't nominate Chris or
It's
Dylan.
a good idea to get one of the new ones in it, because like, I feel like
That's true.
I'm gonna be done after this year, so I hate to jump in and learn it and then be gone. It's better to have one of the young ones, you know, I shouldn't say young ones, but
Yeah.
new people.
That's what you say.
I'm an old person, so.
Well, if you don't attend a meeting, you set yourself up to get appointed for anything.
I will do it if Chris or Dylan, you wanna check with them first. If they don't wanna do it, I will do it. So,
Sounds good.
Can we have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve myself and Chris or Dylan if they want to, and Craig if they don't.
I'll second.
Probably moved by Jody, seconded by Dana to approve Jody as a representative and possibly Chris or Dylan if they're willing to, and if not, if they don't wanna do it, I will do it. So, is there any discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. I abstain. 10, discussion and process for possible hiring staff.
Yep, so just want to have a discussion and more or less open up for any input from board members. The process of hiring employees is, you know, obviously extremely important because those are the people that are working directly with our kids in most cases. And so when we try to hire staff, we're always looking for the best people, whether it's a bus driver or a paraeducator or a teacher or any role that we're trying to fill. You know, and so in any line of work, you try to do that by hitting the most channels and pursuing, you know, whatever means are available. Kathy Meyer is our human resource director. She assists with majority of that process. And so what that typically involves is us notifying her of a vacancy or a position that we're looking to fill. She then proceeds with getting it posted to our website, pushed out on our Facebook page, posted to Teach Iowa to be shared statewide, and then in many cases in local newspapers. And so those are the main channels in which we go through for the hiring of staff. Once we have a candidate pool that we feel like we have some quality candidates, or at least some potential there, we pull together individuals who are most closely connected with that. If it's a position at the elementary, obviously elementary administration is involved, like for example with our cook hiring, that's a great showcase of what that process typically looks like. So for that process, I believe, Kathy, I think you were involved in that interview as well. So she typically is in the interviews. That was a change we made a year or two ago, just because she's so knowledgeable of all the questions that come up related to benefits and pay and everything like that. It also helps to make sure that she has the information. So if the principal says, hey, we'll offer you, $10 an hour, well, if she's the one creating the contract, then there's no middleman or anything. She has that information and can issue that contract once we get board approval. So like the cook position I just mentioned, she was a part of that. Sharon Jargo, our nutrition director, was a part of that. We had Carla, who's our head cook over at the elementary, Carla Holgraver, who's also a part of those interviews, and Mr. Daniels. Is that the complete team in that instance?
I believe so.
And Adam? Yep, and the screw. Yep, I knew that. I should mention that. So that's kind of what that looks like. So we try to bring people that, are working with that individual, or the most closely associated with that role, and have that knowledge and expertise to make those recommendations. They bring that recommendation to me, and then I bring it to you for approval. So that's in a nutshell overview of what that looks like, but kind of more or less wanted to hear your thoughts or get your input on additional things that we can do to bring in the best people to serve our kids.
So were the recent questions just questions about the process, or were there concerns expressed in the questions?
Sure. Craig, do you want to speak to that at all, or did you have specific things that you want to make sure were addressed?
Basically, I had some people reach out to me that it was hard to find on our website. We should be posting it in other places so we can get the best candidates for all of our positions that we have. Just listening for the interview process, if an aide was hired, how many people interview her?
Mr. Cruzy, Mr. Daniels, do you want to speak to, you've been involved in those most recent hirings for a paraeducator position?
In the high school, typically it'd be 2.
I was gonna say, if you
The high school
have 5
principal
people in there to hire one person, that's kind of intimidating. Unless you're breaking it up, from my experience at work.
For us, it'd be 2 or 3, depending on if Kathy was there the whole time or if she just shared the benefit package. Otherwise, it'd be myself, and then if they're connected to a specific classroom or program, we'll try to get that teacher involved with that as well. Otherwise, yeah, it's 2.
Yeah, like when we did interviews for the preschool para job, it was like me and the preschool teachers is who I asked, so I kind of kept it small. To be honest with you, we haven't usually had 6 applicants to go through. It's usually 1 or 2, and I try to closely associate the people that they would be working closely with. That makes sense. So that's kind of what I've done. I don't know if that answers what you're asking, Craig.
I mean, is there any things, because you've been in a different district and so is Mr. Cruz, that we need to change all the way through from hiring coaches to hiring paras or cooks, teachers that would help?
Pay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have so much control over that.
I mean, I could speak to like
The process.
my experience in Macokota, like when we interviewed paras, which we did fairly frequently, it was usually just me and the principal, to be honest with you, where I was dean of students and principal. We didn't even usually always have teachers in on it. I just like to extend to the teachers they'd be working with if they're available. The other thing I think I would say on that is I definitely hear pay, like I've had not a lot, but a few people reach out and kind of ask and inquire. And then kind of when you give the months of it and then the pay part of it, a lot of people ask about benefits or working in the summer, things like that. So that's been, you have to kind of, like you said, you operate with the facts and the constraints, and here's what it is. But that's been the biggest obstacle, I guess, that I've encountered.
I guess I just wanna track the best candidates that we can. If we need to change something, we maybe need to readdress it.
So how is it listed on that website? Is it, I mean, is it easy to find, or do you have to drill into
Can you bring it up?
ambiguous tabs that aren't really the one?
Well, they've changed it too since discussed, I think, too, or at least that's what you told me.
Yeah, right now, you just, I'll pull it up there too, but you just go to the menu and then it says employment opportunities and then it pops up there. That's fairly similar to.
So that's
every
right
other
there on the
school district.
homepage.
Yeah, right from the homepage there. Iowa Works is extremely frustrating for anybody to apply to or to look for your candidates once they're there. It's a bad system, but it's one that we have to use. The Teach Iowa system, which used to be the main one, has been they put it back up again, so that one's a little bit more user friendly. There's some things as well.
Yep, so like Mr. Cruzy was saying, if I go to the Easton Valley Community page, if you go to the menu, employment opportunities under district, and then that pops up that list there. Then if you wanna go into the Teach Iowa positions, to get the details, then you would go there, and then that takes you to Teach Iowa. And then also, like I mentioned earlier, it's on Facebook, our application for employment is on there. We typically post, contact this individual, if you're interested, typically one of our building administrators for most positions.
So if you're on the homepage, instead of having to go through menu, could you have like maybe a starburst somewhere that says employment opportunities that you can just click into?
Yeah.
Especially if
Be
we're looking
simpler.
to hire a lot of people, it could even be something that,
A lot simpler than opening up 6 tabs.
Well, I don't think it's any different
So
than
it's,
most.
so it's also
Yeah,
listed,
districts.
I'd say that.
so there's also a direct link right there,
oh, okay.
of employment opportunities, so that's in the banner, so that,
And that's what I was more looking for, that something,
so it takes you to the same place.
okay. I mean, that should be straightforward enough.
And we're casting our nets in the biggest pond to find applicants. We're not missing out on any streams. I mean,
Yeah, good question. I mean, when we post in papers, typically we're doing,
that's probably our
Preston.
smallest net to
Yeah.
cast.
yeah.
That's in the value.
So when the person talked to you, did they suggest anything that, was there somewhere that they had hoped to find?
They just said it was hard to get to places, and then it was worded probably wrong, what we were hiring for. In particular instance, it was not even job that was listed on there. But that comes back to proofreading before they actually get put in there, and I know we all make mistakes, so.
Yeah, and I'll just say, there have certainly been situations where, like I shared with you, one job posting, you're touching, 5 different channels, like you're contacting 3 newspapers, getting on our website, putting it on Facebook, going to Teach Iowa, so like there's 6 different, things that you have to physically, pursue to get it
No,
on
we do
all
share
of
them on the
those.
Facebook page, I know, I believe I've seen them out there.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And so, but like Kathy, who's doing the majority of that work, is doing all of that. If sometime it doesn't get on one thing or another, like mistakes do happen, but when you look at the amount of job postings that are constantly popping up, and then the time and work involved in pursuing them, she does a darn good job of getting on top of it and being pretty diligent. But if you ever notice anything or something isn't tracking correctly, let us know, we can update it right away. Any other questions or conversation that you want to have on that agenda item?
Unless someone else does.
Very good.
Love and resolution levy for tax fiscal year 24-25.
Yeah, that's just like we talked about earlier, resolution to, improve us the levy would be $130,000 to help go towards paying off, bonds earlier to save interest. Like I said earlier, that would be our third time doing it in the last 4 years, and, interest savings due to those actions, if we go through this, will be about right at $100,000 of interest savings over the life of the bonds currently, and something we'll continue to do in the future. Just needs a motion, unless there's any questions with that.
I'll make a motion for a resolution levying a tax for fiscal year 25-26 for future optional redemption of general obligation school bond series 2019.
Second.
Probably moved by Jody, second by Joe to approve Exhibit 6, resolution levy of tax fiscal year 25-26 for future optional redemption of general obligation school bond series 2019. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, proceed vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Purchase of used lift, Exhibit 7.
Yeah, so Adam and I have been working primarily with Rick Sullivan, but Cliff Milton from the elementary has also been part of the process of making sure we have the equipment to do the necessary work around our schools. The conversation actually came up because through some research that they had done, identified a retrofit solution that would allow us to update the bulbs in our elementary gym. Those are the only bulbs in the building that aren't currently LED, to my understanding. And so in the past, we had looked into replacing those, but the cost was rather high, and so we held off at the time. And so they came to me with a solution that Cliff had found to get those replaced. And then we started talking about the equipment and things that we had to do that with. Well, we currently have a lift that we've had for years. There are many limitations with it. One of them is there's weight restrictions, which make it difficult for all of our employees to utilize it or to get more than one person up to do a job like that. Also, it's a lift that requires, it has to be plugged in. So you're plugging this lift in the wall and running extension cords from the nearest outlet. You can't control it once you're up in it. So if you're working on something up high, you're doing a little bit of work, you're lowering yourself down, you move it a couple feet, you raise it back up, you do a little bit more, you lower it down, you unplug it, you go to a different outlet. So just the process of completing projects can get to be pretty tedious. It's also the only lift that we have in the district. And so what we'd like to do is get a second lift. Rick and Cliff did research and looked for best options. They brought Adam and I 3 different options, recommended the purchase of a 2019 Skyjack 3226 that has 312 hours on it, the amount of $5,450. Of the ones that they brought to us, that was the lowest amount, also the closest one available. And so we felt like between our existing one, which we'd like to hold on to, we can continue to use it for small things to meet our needs, but having one that gets the job done a little bit more efficiently is going to be helpful. And then also having one in each building, so if there is just something small, you got to get up high to fix a banner in the gym, or get a ball or something that's stuck up in the rafters. Like, we'll have one on both campuses that we can use, and we're not hauling something back and forth for some of these smaller projects. Any questions beyond what I shared?
Any kind of warranty on that? I assume it's battery operated.
It is battery operated. I don't know about the warranty information. That'd be something I'd have to get. It is used, and it's out of Cedar Rapids, so Rick could be able to answer that, but I can't speak that off the top of my head.
So how much bigger is it than the current one that we have then? Yes.
I'm not gonna be able to tell you like footage or anything specific. I did-
Crank one.
I told her,
Probably 20. I think we should get 2 of these and get rid of that. Just worry about batteries.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the image with the bid that he shared with me. I mean, I don't know that space-wise it's substantially larger as far as the platform, unless, Adam, can you speak to that question in any more detail?
Weight capacity is
It goes higher.
significant more than,
What's that?
weight capacity significant more.
Yes.
Significantly more. Correct.
there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the scissor lift.
I'll second.
Been properly by Joe, seconded by Jody to approve the purchase of used lift, exhibit 7. There any discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Discussion of future of Old Crow's Nest, old concession stand and bus garage.
So no action necessarily, but I did want to have discussion on a few items that I would like to take action on next month. But let's chunk this out into two different discussions, one around the old Crow's Nest and the old concession stand. Talking about the two structures that currently stand over on the Miles campus near the baseball field. So in the outfield of the baseball field, we have an old Crow's Nest that was used when football was played over in East Central. That Crow's Nest currently, the only time that it is used is for streaming baseball games. But the problem with that structure is it's going to take some money that we need to invest in to maintain it. The money would require tuck pointing, primarily would probably be the largest expense. Adam and I were in that back in the fall, and water's coming in anytime it rains, it's seeping through the mortar joints, and it's not something that is utilized for any additional storage or anything like that. It's also one of those things, I've been here almost 10 years, and we've been having conversations for the last decade on what we want to do. It's still that kind of forest green up on the top, and it just doesn't match our school colors. So I've had people, in my ear for the last 10 years, like, hey, we either need to get up there and paint that darn thing, or we need to tear it down. And so when you just look at, some of the needs, I think it's in our best interest to tear it down. Along with that concession stand, the concession stand I'm talking about is the old stand. It's near that digital sign on the corner when you would leave that elementary drive-through out in front of the school. We have used that for, baseball and some storage of items and things like that. But we have other spaces that we can utilize. We have the shed out back and some other storage spaces that I'll share in just a moment. But essentially, those two structures are inhibiting us being able to move forward with updating our fencing that's around the baseball field. Both of those structures stand inside the lines. If you look at like the fence from like a sky view, or even if you go out and look real close, the fence runs at an angle. It doesn't run straight from like the backstop to the corner of right field, and then around to like center field, and then over to left field. What it does is that fence winds in to avoid that concession stand, and then as that fence runs around right field and then towards center field, it intersects with the Crow's Nest. And so what we have is just goofy distances from the home plate to the outfield, depending on where you would hit the ball. If we are going to improve the fencing, a lot of it is temporary fencing that is out there that we've utilized for several years. To do it the right way, both of those structures need to come down. And so it would not be my recommendation to invest more money to bring them up to speed. The best thing that we could really use those for, aside from streaming, which can be done from our existing Crow's Nest, is storage. And I think we have adequate storage with that nice big shed out behind the building. So it would be my recommendation that we do utilize some of the insurance money that we received from some of the hail damage from about a year ago that's still available to us. Received a portion of the money that we can use to bring those structures down. I do think based on people that have more expertise in that area than me, it'd be best to bring those down while the ground's still hard. So if any block or anything like that's fallen, the less damage from hitting the ground and causing indentations or things like that, the sooner the better is what I'm telling you there. So it is something that, with your blessing tonight, or just without hearing any major concerns about that recommendation, I'd like to proceed in soliciting bids and bring those back to you for approval in March for the concession stand and the old Crow's Nest. Transition over, we have that bus garage in the middle of Miles over there. There was a lot of damage from that hailstorm where we do have funding available to do some repairs. I've looked at it, I've examined the structure, we still utilize it for just some, I would call it unnecessary storage. There's a lot of things that just in the transitioning of, from East Central to Easton Valley to, the old elementary building to the temporary one to the new one, there's some things that have gathered in there that probably don't need to be in there long term, but there are some other larger pieces of equipment that we do utilize that building for that it's nice to have. One of the probably most necessary needs is that's where we store our salt for our winter preparedness. And so my worry is that if we tore that down or sold that property or whatever that would entail, we'd be possibly solving one problem and then creating another. We'd be right back here talking about, oh, well, now we need somewhere to put the salt. And then we got the batwing mower that is stored in there and it's too big, it's taking up a lot in the shed. So I don't want to solve one problem and create another. So what I would recommend doing is getting bids to replace the roof on that. Currently there's, a lot of layers of shingles that would need to come off. We did have a contractor come out and take a look at it, and we're pretty confident that we can get it re-roofed without much additional expense beyond insurance money that was available to us. They did say that, once they start tearing all the layers of shingles off and getting under, they couldn't make any promises about the wood structure and stuff underneath that until they tore in more, but that's just a conversation I wanted to have with you tonight. So essentially I want to bring back bids to demo the old Crow's Nest, old concession stand on the elementary campus, and then bring the bids back to re-roof the old bus garage in the middle of Milestone. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
I think removing those two structures on the school property is probably a good idea. I mean, it would really improve the aesthetics of the property, and obviously in 12 years we haven't used them, right? And I think we even had a meeting once about them, the concession being an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's our building and grounds committee say?
Yeah, 100% in support of that.
Is there any other improvement that would need to be done on that garage property?
For the
Like
bus garage?
Sidewalks, driveways, other,
Yeah, I mean, it's far from, up to snuff. It's an old building, with the shingles and the condition of the roof, like water has gotten in over the years. So, I mean, it's not in fabulous condition, but it's certainly capable of, storing some of our equipment and some things, keeping it out of the weather, keeping our salt dry, damaging other equipment or things in storage. So I wouldn't recommend putting, a bunch of additional money on the inside of it for anything other than the current storage uses that we're getting out of it.
What dollar amount are you talking about as far as for roofing, approximately? You said a little more than insurance, so what was the insurance on it?
Yeah, probably, the insurance is about $25,000 for the roof.
So what if you tore it completely down and put a shed up, whatever size it is, and look at it both ways,
Yeah.
and get something useful out of it?
yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, I mean, we have that, nice shed behind the building, and so my vision was we continue to utilize that for things that we need to keep nice. Our teachers keep a lot of materials and things that need to, stay dry, like that are up on that loft in there. A lot of our other equipment is stored around there, but what I would hate to see is, we tear down the existing storage space and then we have to, take up a bunch of our nicer space that we use a lot, that we need to be able to get in and out of. And I didn't want to commit additional funds beyond insurance money that was available. So my logic there was that we could meet our current needs that we have, storing the things that we're currently storing there, without investing in additional funds that the district could utilize in more priority areas.
Cause you'd probably double it if you were going to replace it, right? At least double that amount. 25,000, I mean, probably be 50,000, right?
Depends on the foundation, if you go back to the foundation, which I'm guessing the foundation's not much better than the building is.
I mean, it's, for what you're using, what we're using it for, they put a nice roof on it, I don't think that's good enough. You need to have an old building to put stuff in. Doesn't have to be nice.
No, it doesn't. That was kind of my thought. If it needs to be in a nice building, we got
Yeah.
a shed for it. If it just needs a roof over it,
Yeah.
Why do we need
Yeah.
to keep housing junk if that's all we have in it? Get rid of it.
yeah. Yeah, there is junk in there. I mean, I won't lie there.
Yeah.
But there is other good equipment.
Oh, you have a junk one.
I know, but I go through it every so often to get rid of it.
I mean, and when I say junk, like, I just mean things that have been passed on over, the decades, like, when I was in there last, I was going through boxes and pulling out, old trophies from, 50 years ago, like things like that are in boxes and collected. So it's just things that have been handed down through different districts and through moves and things like that.
Sounds like we need a garage sale.
Yeah. We can do that too.
I guess you can bring back some estimates and we can go from it next meeting.
You still park some vehicles in there, right? No,
Mower,
not
you
anymore?
said.
So,
They used to
Yeah.
have the, little cars in there, SUVs or whatever would park in there, right? They don't do that anymore at all?
do we still put those? I think we bring those back to the shed behind the school.
Is there room to add on to the shed behind the school?
Yeah.
We invest our money in there and just tear the other one down and sell the lot.
Yes, if we were gonna invest money to expand the shed, my recommendation there would be to create a space, to pull buses in, to do some of our, regular maintenance. We got, our power washer and things back there available now, be able to pull them in, wash them off, get a floor drain. Currently, our drivers are having to do a lot of that stuff out in the elements. And I know that would be a big push from our transportation department. But again, there's a large cost to that. And so we're talking about no additional investment from the district to maintain the current storage space that we have there. If we're gonna add on or something, build new spaces, then we're talking about an additional investment of a couple dollars.
How many lots are there?
How many what?
Like if we sold that property, how many lots could you get?
Yeah.
Is it just one or two?
I think it's two.
Two?
Yeah.
You could invest that
money
back
put
into your
into the
building.
building, so you wouldn't have much cost.
Mm-hmm. And Dana, I know you and I had talked a
I know,
while back.
no, I'm just kidding.
If you wanna, in the meantime between meetings, if you'd come back to the next meeting with your expertise to be able to share alternative approaches that we could take, make an informed decision, I think it'd be a great conversation.
Okay.
That's all I needed on that.
Okay, administrative reports.
Am I supposed to come up there with the new setup or just stay where I'm at?
Front and center right here. Just kidding.
Oh, I mean, just middle. Mr. Cruzy, how do I connect to this thing?
I'll get you. Come on up.
Gotta be under your
What's that?
writing under.
Ooh, I don't know if I'm on that.
I'll help you quick.
Chris,
I'll start with this one.
you can research what to do with the Spieler ground too, since we're going over that other stuff.
Yep, deal.
You want to connect that? I'll start with
Yep,
this.
I will.
All right, so I've talked on this several different times. Last time I told you guys I wanted to share with all staff and have the chance before I brought it to the board and everything. But I just want to start by sharing our core values and what we kind of settled on. So kind of going into the start of the year, we had worked during the summer, I told you a while back, with administration from all different districts, kind of laid out the basic core values. So relationships and respect, how we treat and interact with people matters. Then what we went through and the process we engaged staff was defining, like, what does that mean, right? Rather than us just providing you relationship and respect, how we interact with people matters. So basically we got all staff input, and then our Lighthouse team funneled down, took all the responses, and kind of came up with collective definitions. So before I jump into reading each one to you, I will tell you 3 of the 4 were came pretty smoothly, like taking all the feedback, it was very similar themes. And then I'll talk about the other one that was a little in the middle, but we weren't terribly far off, so. Relationships and respect, how we treat and interact with people matters. The definitions that we came up with all staff was, we model positive behaviors and attitudes. We assume positive intent and go to people in person first to try to resolve situations. So that was a theme that came out a lot with all of our staff, really. So next one, inclusion prevails, we're better together. Definition staff came up with was, we work together as a team to include others, to give opportunities to listen to all perspectives, synergize, and think win-win was some of our leader and me language that came out. So that one was pretty good. I'm gonna go to details matter, because this one also flowed relatively smoothly. So details matter, everything we do and the way we do it contributes to or inhibits higher levels of success. Staff defined, we are solution focused, we limit negativity and always strive to be better in even the smallest of ways for our students and for each other. So again, pretty common themes. And then the one that, to be honest with you, we didn't come to consensus in our first Lighthouse team meeting, kind of taking everybody's feedback. But in our second one, it came together pretty well. And then actually, you two can jump in if you want. I feel like all staff kind of said when we read it, like, yeah, that really captures what we were trying to get at. So that one was exceptional effort. Our students, staff, and community deserve individuals who go above and beyond. So the debate, before I read you our definition, was, what does it mean to go above and beyond? Does that mean working until 7 o'clock at night? Like, let's define what does that mean. So here's the definition that we came up with. We support every student every day by actively looking for ways to improve the quality of education and experience for our students, staff, and community. So just that continual ways of looking for how can we do this better. We all kind of collectively agreed that you don't need to take things home with you and work till 9 o'clock every night to go above and beyond. So that was the way that we ended up kind of capturing those. So just wanted to share that with you. And then next steps, I think, especially from the administrative lens, it's just important that this wasn't an activity and that it dies. Keeping coming back to like what our core values are and what we agreed is important, whether that's in an all staff meeting, whether that's trying to make a collective decision when we have different perspectives on things. This is just going to kind of ground us as we move forward. So I just wanted to share those definitions with you. Means we talked about it before. And then the other big thing, I'm actually going to carry this.
I had you hooked up.
So that was the one big rock, and then the second big rock I wanted to show you guys tonight was some updated FAST scores. So winter FAST testing is back. And I just wanted to kind of compare the numbers with you. And then we can go as deep or not deep with it as you guys would like to. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna start, first of all, I've got ELA pulled up. I'm gonna give you the glows and grows, and then we can dive in as much as you want to before we jump into math. So, glows that I wrote down, first of all, let's go fall of 22-23, winter, spring, fall of last year, winter, spring of last year, and then this fall, this winter. So long story short, I'm just gonna go across overall proficiency so you guys can kind of see the building-wide trend. 58%, 52%, 53%, that was 2 years ago. Last year, we were at 58%, 61, end of the year at 61% overall in the building proficient. This year, we tested at 61% to start the year, and we took 1% jump to 62. So not like monumental growth. I would say they, when you're in school, they talk about an implementation phase. We've talked about implementing our new literacy curriculum often throughout the year. They oftentimes talk about like a dip before you see an incline. So this was actually encouraging to me, to be honest with you. While it wasn't monumental growth, it was a small step forward and hopefully keeps getting better. But the glows that I wrote down were highest overall building literacy percentage since the fall of 2021 when I backtracked. A 1% growth from the fall of this year, and then a 2% from where we were at last winter. So last winter we were at, is that wrong? 60 to 61%, 62, so about the same, I guess, 1%. And then I put 4 out of 7 grade levels showed increases from the beginning of this year. So that was good. The grow that I had listed on literacy, we were at 62% overall proficient The Mississippi Bend AEA region was kicking out at about 67%. So about 5% overall proficiency behind the Mississippi Bend region. And then the Iowa DOE, so the state as a whole, was kicking out at about 66% overall. So still a little bit behind the overarching state trend, I would say, but at least we're showing small growths in the right direction. And then the only other thing, and I can answer questions before I get into math, obviously you got kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, but when you look at these, so for example, this kindergarten class was 85, 52, 25, then they jumped to first grade, so 62, 64, 59. This year they're second graders, so right now they're 81%. So for example, when they were kindergartners in the winter, they were about 52%, if that makes sense. And honestly, we spent a little bit of time as staff diving into intervention groups and looking at this much deeper, kid by kid and trends by grades. But that's just kind of like a bird's eye for you. So, any questions, or I'll do the same thing with math here in a second. Cool. You want to show me how to switch that tab? All right, and then real quick with math. Math was pretty good on the whole as well. So you can see real quick, proficiency overall, 2 years ago, 65, 63, 60. Last year, I recall coming in that the math scores really boosted our Iowa performance profile. So last year they were at 70%, 71, 72. This year we started at 67% and jumped up to 70%. So kind of clicking in. Glows and grows, I had kind of jotted down on math. We showed 3% growth from the fall this year, 67 to 70%. 70% building proficiency is directly on par with both the Mississippi Bend region and the Iowa Department of Ed. So we're right at where everybody else is at. And then I listed again 4 of 7 grade levels, either stayed stable or showed growth in math department from the fall.
So it was the same 4 grades levels as it was in the first one, or different ones?
It was not.
Okay. I figured that, but I wanted to ask.
Yep. Don't quote me, I think, off the top of my head, I think 3 of them were the same, and 1 of them was flip-flopped. I do know, like I'd give you an example, first grade did a little better growth in math than literacy, so there were some inconsistencies. That's just one example. Yeah, it wasn't perfectly correlated. And then the one grow that I put is, technically we're a 1% proficiency drop from where we were at last winter, just being at 71%, 70 now. To be honest with you, in a building our size, that's not a ton of kids either. We do have, I think, 11 or 12 more might have took the test overall, so that skews a little bit. But technically, we have 1% kind of behind where we were last year. So. And then the last things I had listed, I guess first of all, any questions with math or anything? You would obviously read this the same way of cohorts jumping down. So. Cool. The last thing that I was going to list on that note is just persistently at-risk letters. We're getting those kicked out tomorrow morning. We're finishing today. But any kids that had 2 consecutive bullet points that they did not meet proficiency, we have to mail home and let families know. Then I believe law actually might have changed towards retention, like giving families more. You might be able to talk to that more to me, or I don't know if we need to, but that was kind of in the letter as well. So I think where Mr. Kilber just mentioned interventions, that's why that's so important. Of if we are missing a gap somewhere, how do we know the kids are getting what they need? So that's what we're working on now. And then the last thing I had listed, guys, was just special events. We've had a lot, so I'm not going to talk about each one of them. Martin Luther King Day, 100th day of school, Valentine's Day. We had a Riverhawk rally. We've been working through with the weather, snowshoeing with it being cold, like we've rescheduled like 3 different times. And then we've also got parent-teacher conferences coming up March 12th and 13th. So a lot of good stuff going on. That was my list tonight. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Nope. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Passing?
Okay.
Just let you guys know too, the next time we're in this room, there should be another screen or two up on that side of the wall too, that way everybody can see it a lot better, so you're not quite so far away, because I know I wouldn't be able to see over there either. We're all good. For the junior high school performing arts group, Ms. Deemer took a group of kids to a local nursing home last Friday on Valentine's Day. They did some caroling, they sang for about 30 minutes, and then they had partnered with some of our elementary students and made some Valentine's and passed those Valentine's out to those people at the nursing home. Again, they had a great time there. It was a good experience for them, and the nursing home greatly appreciated them and welcomed them back at any time. Our ag FFA hosted sub-districts this past Monday. Thanks to Mr. E and Ms. Schmidt for all their work setting that up. I know it was a huge process. They started out on a really, really cold morning up there where a lot of other schools were delayed, but they continued on. Advancing to districts were 3 different groups. One job interview, Aaliyah Schmidt got first place in that. Ag sales, Ella Berkman was second place. And parliamentary procedure team of Emily, Kira, Gavin, Houston, and Ethan got third place. So they all advanced to districts. Then alternates to districts were
Extemporaneous.
Wow. Speaking from Charlie Lane and the welding team of Wyden Keaton. So those guys are alternates there. So I know they put in a ton of work over the last few weeks to get ready, both as teachers and the kids. So congratulations to them and great job with all their hard work. Miss Larson in our art department, there's a couple projects that they're gonna be coming up on. They're gonna put a mural up on our weight room wall, just to add to one of those walls in there. And they're also gonna be working on the sign out front of the school by the flag, just to brighten it back up from where it was. It's really faded and things like that. So once the weather gets a little bit warmer, I know that's on our project list for this coming spring. Athletics, junior high boys basketball have 2 games left in their season. They play tomorrow night at Prince of Peace and then Monday at Midland. And then that'll wrap up the winter season for them. Varsity boys basketball finished 5th in the Tri-Rivers East. They're 4-8 in conference, 6-16 overall. Varsity girls finished 3rd in the conference, 8-4 record in the conference, 11-9 overall. This past weekend we had Mrs. Keller took 3 kids down to Business Professionals of America, or BPA, state conference in Des Moines. This was their first experience down there and competing in some things down there. They competed in several different events, interviewing, prepared speech, parliamentary procedure concepts. Kendall Driscoll finished 12th in her division in that one. So again, that was our highest division, our highest person finished for EB. But again, Ms. Keller said they learned so many things down there. They had a great time with those 3 kids. Really hope to grow that program and do a ton better next year down there. Now that they know kind of what to expect and different things. The high school student council again is hosting dance coming up for the elementary. It's a VIP and me dance. It's going to be on March 29th from 6 to 8. They were looking for different ways to try to get involved with the elementary kids over there and give them something fun to experience. So again, that's the 29th. From 6 to 8 at night. Our junior high school conferences have been moved 2 times now because of weather. So we decided to push it a couple weeks down the road. So it's going to be March 5th. Now that we'll be running those, that still gives us a week before the end of the quarter to be able to again have those conversations with parents. Just as a reminder, our goal is to always have them at midterms of each quarter. She's gotten pushed back with the different weather events that we've had this quarter. There's been a huge interest in our academies for next year. I go to a meeting tomorrow morning that is supposed to give us to finalize paperwork and things like that, but we've had a couple different trips out with our kids there to the academies. But we have a very big interest in there, and I expect our numbers for the academies next year to blow away all the numbers that we've had in the past, just with the different offerings there and the interest that we have from kids. So hopefully have more reports out on that the next month or so when we officially sign up. But official sign up should happen in March at some point on that one. So that is all I had. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, I'll jump right into my items. If you happen to peek out back on your way out tonight, or you've already taken a look, we do have a significant portion of our greenhouse structure that has been put up. We still need side panels and all of that to be added, but we've made some significant progress since our last meeting and prior to a lot of the weather and temperatures that we've been experiencing. So we did have our architect team up here today. They were out back, they took a look. They're gonna get back up here once we get a little bit of snow melt, so that they can look a bit more closely at some of the other pieces, but things are progressing well, and it's just good to see that progress. There's been a lot of things going on behind the scenes, but to actually see things go up, to have that concrete visual of the progress and how close we are to being able to utilize that space is very exciting. Calendar planning, just briefly wanted to make you aware, we'd like to bring a draft of the calendar in March. Spoke briefly with one of our elementary reps and just talked about the process of bringing our reps together from both of our buildings. And then also, one of the things that we agreed upon last year was bringing SIAC representatives to the table to give input prior to bringing to the board, so that when we bring you a draft or a recommendation for approval of our calendar, we've had eyes of our administration, our staff, and our parents, and can bring it to you for your input and have a public hearing on that. And if need be, we can make tweaks and changes and come back and get that finalized in April. So I would anticipate at least a draft of a calendar, but depending on how far we get with our committee work, possibly even having a public hearing on the calendar with our budget hearing that we do in March. Weapon detection system update, Officer Groover and myself were able to go over to Clinton. They have been utilizing the Evolve system, and we wanted to go over there to see more than just a demo of the product, but see how operational it is. So we went over to Clinton early one morning a couple of weeks ago to see firsthand how it was utilized upon entrance to the school. And so they have one system that they put at their main entryway. And as students came through, what we saw was just business as usual. As students came through, they would just raise their Chromebooks up to be a little bit higher than the Evolve system that stands about shoulder to ear height, somewhere in there, depending on how tall you are. They hold it up so that the Chromebook doesn't set off the sensor because of the coil that is in the back of the Chromebook, and the shape and the metal density there. It is something that sets off these weapon detection systems. And so by just holding it up, getting it out of range, then the system can detect if there is truly something of concern. And so what they did is they paid a small stipend to a couple of their teachers, in addition to their, in the larger school, they have an attendance secretary that's there at the door every day anyway. So they had 3 people. I don't think that's necessarily something that we would require here in a school our size. But they're moving over 1,000 kids through in the morning, where we'd be bringing through 250. But if it would trigger an alert, there were 2 staff members there. The kids didn't even balk at it. They just walked over to the teacher, opened up their backpack on the desk, and oh, yep, all right, you're good. And it was a 10-second conversation, and they would move along. So Officer Groove and I were very impressed with it. It seemed to work really well, and I think what we were looking for was, how disruptive is this? And through conversations, we met with the superintendent, we met with the principal, and then we also met with a couple of the secretaries that helped to support it, and they all said, yeah, there was a slight learning curve, kids just had to get used to it, but as soon as they did, it's just another morning, and kids roll in and they go through. They had procedures in place for how they account for things like an early bird PE or kids that come in for weightlifting. They did have to figure out solutions to make sure that they had staff there at the door, because it's only as effective as your weakest link, and if you're leaving open an opportunity for students to be entering when it's not being monitored, then you're kind of defeating the purpose of that large investment. So operationally, we thought it was very manageable, effective, definitely something that we could implement in junior high and high school here. And so following that meeting, Officer Groover made a connection with the individual. They had a different rep that Clinton purchased it from, And so he got that information, passed that on to me. I connected with this gentleman. This gentleman was out of the Rockford, Illinois area. He came all the way this way, a couple hour drive to sit down and meet with me. We talked about his company and what he offered and the support and things that they provide. When took a look at our entrance area, I asked him for thoughts on just what we were thinking of how this could work and what it would look like, how effective it could be. So another very positive meeting because our goal would be to solicit multiple bids to get the best deal. So we have established at least a couple of connections already with different vendors that can sell it and support it. I think both would be good options based on conversations that we've had so far. And so what we'd like to do next is the next piece I'm looking on is funding. I am looking into some of our safety and security funding that could be utilized potentially to offset or reduce the cost. So once I get that verified, then I hope to bring something back as early as March for more serious consideration about purchasing or leasing safety equipment such as that. I did talk with I talked with the Andrew and Delvin school boards and just said, hey, is this something that you'd be interested in? They both kind of gave me the same answer. Like, we wouldn't say no, but they kind of asked some of the same questions you all asked. Like, is this something other elementaries are using? Which the answer there is no, not that I've uncovered. I've talked with the rep, I talked with Clinton. Clinton is looking at expanding the use of the weapon detection system in the middle school, but not exploring that for their elementary school. And when I talked with this last representative that was out, he said they're not selling it to elementary schools either. So I definitely think it's something that, considering the cost and just the effort to implement, I think it'd be good to do well, get our feelings for how effective it is, and then continue conversations if we would want to see that in our elementary building or what that would look like. Transportation planning, Amber and I have weekly meetings. Amber Sherman, our transportation director. We've been meeting, having ongoing conversations about our transportation fleet, particularly our buses. As you're aware, when we did get the electric buses, we did part ways with old buses. The old buses that we parted ways with, as we all agreed and understood when we went forward with that plan to explore the potential of the electric vehicle. We knew that the buses that we were parting ways with were not a part of our long-term plan. They weren't being utilized at the time and needed an investment to be able to utilize them more fully. So we are at a point though where we're looking to put out a request for proposal to make sure that we have the buses that we need to meet our needs, not just for our routes, but also our extracurriculars. And so we're also working with the EPA and Lion. We actually do have a representative coming out here shortly this month to come out and do the work on our electric vehicles. But we just have been very frustrated with their responsiveness and being able to service the vehicles when things go down. We've also talked with the EPA and just number one, verified like we don't have these vehicles on the road and we're not going to until we get some of these issues resolved. And we just said we want to make sure that we're not going to be penalized or held accountable, and they've confirmed that absolutely not. Like if the vehicles aren't operational or you have issues that are outstanding, then there will be no penalty to your district. But we are exploring other avenues to pursue to ensure that everything that was sold to us is as it was intended to be. And there's just additional things that we want to work with the EPA and other officials on to make sure that the money was spent in the way it was supposed to, and that things were done by other agencies the way that they were supposed to be done. So that's an ongoing conversation, but I am hoping to bring back a recommendation for additional buses that we would have otherwise been looking to purchase if we had not gone with the electric vehicles. So look for an update on that in our March board meeting. We had a facility advisory committee meeting tonight. Our architect from Northeast Missouri, Joe Knuckle, who's the lead architect on the project for our facility master planning. He came up and helped to facilitate the meeting along with another one of his colleagues from his Quad Cities office. They came up, they presented a plan. We had great attendance from our committee members. The architects kind of shared what they had heard from all the input that had been gathered from our previous meetings, from our walkthrough of our facilities, from our surveys, and just kind of rolled out like, hey, this is what we're thinking is the best approach. We shared input, our committee shared input, Adam shared some financial input. We tried to kind of put a bow on everything that was discussed. They said they're going to take back the input that was provided tonight. Within 2 weeks, I should have a plan that we can feel good about bringing to the board in March. And so the goal is to get that, share that out with our committee. If there aren't any major concerns or anything, then I'd like to have some folks come and help to present that plan to the board for consideration in the March meeting. If there are any things that we need to address as a committee, then I'll pull that group back together prior to the meeting to try to do what we can to have an action item for consideration in March. The last thing that I wanted to share was something Mr. Cruzy already touched on, FFA contest that was held this last Monday. I just wanted to speak to that because I was asked to be one of the judges for the interview group and just had a very positive experience. 3 takeaways from that experience that I wanted to highlight for all of you tonight. I'm sure all of you know the feeling, but I can tell you, our commons area out here was packed. We had all the schools from sub-district there. It was full of students, parents, other FFA advisors. And when Mr. Eskildsen got up to speak, just kind of share an overview, welcome everybody, tell everybody how it's going to run and things, just such pride. As we know, we're lucky to have Mr. Eskildsen helping to lead our ag department and FFA program. And when he got up and spoke, I just thought, man, I bet everybody in this room is jealous that we had him here. So that was a good takeaway. Had a very similar experience, and you weren't even supposed to be here tonight, so sorry if I'm making you blush. Hopefully you can get your head out the door. Also, similar experience though in the interview competition, as Mr. Cruzy mentioned, Aaliyah Schmidt was one of the participants that received all golds and is advancing to the next round of districts. And I met with her today to give her some feedback and follow up, and I told her, I said, I'll be honest with you, like I was really confident in my judging, but when I scored you so high, I was kind of nervous, like, are these other judges going to look at me and be like, oh, he scores his Easton Valley student high? But when the whole group gave the same scores, it just really reaffirmed how great of a job she did and how lucky we are to have our students learning through these experiences through ag and FFA. And that was my third point as well. Just being a part of these experiences just opens my eyes to there's so much beyond the surface of what being an FFA member entails and the benefits that come with it. And our kids are just learning real world life, job preparedness, skills and experiences that they'll carry with them. So just really cool to see, and just really glad that we have the leaders that we have that help to bring those experiences to our kids. Well, that's all I had for you this evening.
Thank you. Board member reports? Anyone? I've had brought to my attention that some community members want to look at doing stuff with Northeast, so get a hold of myself or Chris if someone wants to put on the agenda for next meeting. And then also Title 3 levels for special ed.
3 special ed levels.
And we go to level 3. So how come they want to know why we're not offering everything that we need to keep our students here? So want to figure that out and bring that back to the next meeting. So that's all I had on that. Public forum. Adam, can you time people? Be able to give in 2 minutes to discuss whatever you need to discuss. Austin Thompson.
Last month, a decision was made to reassign Amanda Carlson, our high school band director, from a high school band director position to an elementary focused one. This came without warning, despite overwhelming support from staff and students to keep her where she belongs. Our concerns were dismissed. For 4 years, she has worked tirelessly to build and strengthen this program. She has not only created a space to learn, but a place of acceptance. She has formed connections with students such as myself that you wouldn't otherwise see in areas of this building. And she's more than a director to us. She's family. Through it all, she's put up with more than she gets paid to. She's handled unruly students, unable to punish them or bail them from her class because she can't prove that they're not doing anything. Last year, her teaching partner left her halfway through, and she had to pick everything up by herself. But despite that, we're removing the person who was stuck with the program through thick and thin, which will put the same burdens onto a single director, of which we have 2 now, but we're getting rid of Amanda. And if this decision was truly for the betterment of the program, as people were informed it was, we would not be actively pushing Amanda out of the position she deserves to be in. This decision has caused unneeded stress and emotions from people in our department. I know when Amanda told us, the whole class was visibly upset, and it's been a rough time. Like, we don't understand why this has been pushed. People have asked, and it's just, we didn't really get an answer that we thought was deserving of this decision. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard?
Continued failure of this board and administration to follow board policies, Iowa Code, and maintain accountability to taxpayers. Principal Brandon Cruzy was not approved as a paid or volunteer girls basketball coach, yet he continued coaching from the sidelines throughout the season. Board members and the superintendent witnessed this and did nothing to stop it, ignoring collective board decisions. Upon FOIA request response, there is little to no data tracking the time of shared contract employees. Easton Valley pays 60% of 6 employees' salaries, yet there is no clear documentation showing how much of their time is actually spent working for this district. This is poor business practice. These issues reflect a broader failure in leadership, oversight, and fiscal responsibility. Board policies are not suggestions, they are mandates that must be followed. It is clear that the board is unwilling or unable to fulfill its obligations to the students, staff, and taxpayers of this district. Because of this continued disregard for transparency, accountability, and proper governance, I am calling for the immediate resignation of this board and superintendent.
Aaron Thurb. So I attended the first board meeting last month and was made aware that I wouldn't be able to speak to this one, so I figured I'd bring it to everyone's attention. I've had a few encounters with several of the board members here. One encounter I feel that should be brought to everyone's attention is that during elementary Riverhawks game, Walt here arrived with a beer in hand at an elementary game, should I mention, became angry with the chief of police who asked the away parents to remove their cars from the levee. And then later during that game, a young lady had hit the ball and was running to base, and at that moment I'm standing behind Joe and Walt. And I overhear Walt say to Joe, "I think that run was slower than slow motion. She shouldn't be running." Then Joe chuckled at that point, so I walked away because I was upset. This is pretty concerning, beyond unprofessional, and morally wrong, in my opinion. So my purpose today is to challenge anyone in here that thinks it's acceptable to make fun of a 10-year-old to a race. I'll meet you in the gym afterwards.
Thank you. Nick?
Only thing I got is, we went through that hiring of the personnel, and it's very hard to get on there. So I've been looking for a softball coach for a program here, and nobody can find it. So when you put your zip code in there, so you click on that link, you put your zip code in there, and you can just type in school. And there's only 2 jobs for Easton Valley to show up. You can put schools in there, and then 5 come up. You put coach in there, we don't have anything. You put coaches, and you have 5, well, you have 3 different spots. So I think when you go through that, somebody's got to type in some different links or get an actual link or the description put right on the website where you can click a hyperlink and it goes right there. It's hard to hunt for that stuff. So, and out of the 11 jobs we have, I can only find 5 on there. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Rhonda?
I was at the facility meeting talking, concerned about baseball, softball area over there, and around the fence, around the whole area was taken down due to trees being taken out. I've been talking about that being replaced now. I think it was 3 years ago when I met with Miss Nelson and you. I think that's very important. For one, we can't take admission, which isn't huge, but the other one is safety. We need a fence all the way back around there for safety purposes, especially on the softball side. I mean, the baseball side, of course, the road is just really narrow, and parking has to change. There's a huge gravel parking lot on the other side. I don't know if we need to put signs coming in saying parking and direct people back there. Does it have to be cemented or asphalted? No, the gravel's fine. But it's a huge parking lot back there. And it's been discussed of putting signs up or having city closing that street. I don't think closing that street is feasible, but to put signs up, no parking. I mean, I sit there and watch people park. The cemetery, the city has put no parking signs on the cemetery side, but people park along that narrow street where it goes straight down into the softball diamond. People try and park along there, and then all of a sudden you have a big, huge tractor come along that can hardly make it through there. I'm talking during games is what I'm talking about. So I think that definitely no parking sign should be put along there, and that's probably something that has to be visited with the city, obviously. I know there is ways you can put a sign in, pull it back out on the off season if you need to. Just safety purposes, and as far as the fence goes, I know the athletic boosters, they have money there. They could donate a little bit of money towards that fence area if needed. Could there be grants? Possibly. I do a fundraiser every year for the boosters, and that generates anywhere from 2 years ago it generated 22,000. I'm pretty passionate about getting a fence put back up. I've been asking it for a long time, so I really would like you guys to review that. Take admissions, safety purposes, and clean that parking up over there, if possible. I know things take time, but it's important stuff. I don't know if any of you go to softball games over there, baseball games, now that we have softball program back.
That's your 2 minutes, Rhonda.
Okay, thank you.
Is that next board meeting agenda? Time?
6 p.m. on March 26th. There we go.
March 26th,
Yes, sir.
6 p.m. Miles?
Correct.
Is there a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Properly moved by Jody, second by Joe to approve March 6th, 6 p.m. in Miles Transport Meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Properly moved by Jody, seconded by Joe to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.